My name is Nicholas Montez, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Nicholas Montez. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everybody. I'm so excited to have y'all back here together again. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the newest Disney Plus original series, MCU series, She-Hulk Attorney at Law. And we're reviewing the first episode today. But before we get started talking about the episode 1 of She-Hulk, I think it's very clear to talk about what are my thoughts going into it, and do I have any background with this sort of character. So let's go ahead and talk about that first. So much like a little bit like Moon Knight and Ms. Marvel, where I saw them through the Marvel animation shows that were released on Disney XD and Disney Channel, I had a little bit that with She-Hulk, but it wasn't exactly as much as Moon Knight and Ms. Marvel, because the only time I really ever saw her was really in Ultimate Spider-Man in the Contest of Champions episodes, and in Hulk and the Agents of Smash show, where it was a collection of Hulk and a bunch of other Hulks like A-Bomb, Red Hulk, Scar, and She-Hulk herself. And so I didn't know much about the character. The only thing but the things I really know about the character was that she was Hulk's cousin. Her name is Jennifer Walters, and she's also a lawyer. So with all that said, I was a little bit interested, but then I was thinking like this, because like I remember seeing Avengers Assemble when the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy were fighting each other over like the Infinity Stones, and then I saw Gamora, and I'm like, wait, did Hulk just throw her cousin like into a building? Like, oh no, that's Gamora. Gamora and She-Hulk are two different people. But besides all that stuff, the way that the show was promoting this, with introducing the Wrecking Crew, but also bringing in Titania, but also bringing in some new characters, like bringing back some old characters like Wong, Abomination, and even Daredevil. The show was mostly done because of cameos, was more excited for it because of cameos. But at the same time, I think that's kind of the cool part, because if they're incorporating in the story, that means they can. I'll explain that more in a later video. But yeah, I know that the CGI has been kind of poorly represented. Didn't look as good as the trailers, but I mean it looks better now. But it didn't look better. It didn't look that good before. But it's Marvel. This is where we are now. But now let's just talk about my overall the good on episode 1 of She-Hulk. And for me, I actually had a pretty good time with this episode. Let's just start off by saying Tatiana Maslany as Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk. She's great. She is great in the role. She plays well as this character. She's very charismatic. She's very charming. She's great. I really liked it. I think the other thing you gotta talk about with this episode is just the cameo stuff, the references. And it's not that they just do references to MCU content. Like, they also reference other stuff. Like, they literally reference Pixar, movie Inside Out, and the character Bing Bong. I'm like, so does that mean Pixar exists in the MCU? Like, so does that mean Disney exists in the MCU and Disney owns Marvel? Like, so what is Marvel in the MCU? That's interesting. That's a cool little theorizing there. But anyway, the references in this episode were actually really good. As you know, it made a lot of references to a lot of Hulk's appearances, that he was on the run. He was stuck as the Hulk for 2 years back in Thor Ragnarok, between Avengers Age of Ultron and Thor Ragnarok. And then also just like, you know, referencing Tony and Nat and Steve. Like, you can tell that this guy has had special relationships with these people. And that it's not just, they're my team, that's it. No, they're special people to him because they had a long journey together. So I thought that was cool. But then also, it also finds ways to actually tell the story. And they do the scene where they're in the Mexico place, in the lab, and they actually reveal that that lab is actually the place where Smart Hulk was created. And I'm like, that's actually pretty cool. Because, I mean, honestly, if you really think about it, it kind of looks like something where a Hulk would be created. Where some sort of smug Hulk would be created. So I think that was cool. Also, I've seen a lot of complaints about this one particular scene in the episode where they're trying to do yoga and Jennifer Walters is like talking about all the struggles she goes through as a woman. And I've seen a lot of people complain about that, which I don't really understand. Why is that getting so much hate? If you can like talk to me down in the comment section, like why is that getting so much hate? Please tell me. I want to know. But I actually understood it, and she could control her anger. Also the Hulk and She-Hulk fight was actually pretty awesome. I thought it was a little bit weird at first because it's like, this reminded me a lot like the Doctor Strange fight and the Spider-Man and Doctor Strange fight in No Way Home, where it's like, they're not bad guys. They would never betray each other. It's not like they're trying to kill each other, but they're trying to get away because he can't let him get the box. And this fight kind of reminded me of that, but it's like, I don't want them to fight. And it's also because like they're family, so it's like, it doesn't seem like they would betray each other. I don't know. I don't like, I mean, maybe it's just because I don't picture these characters betraying each other. I don't know. I still kind of like the fight though. I did like the fight. Also the ending to this episode where it really just establishes, like after She-Hulk just punches Titania, and then like the song plays, the ending of this episode is really good. It fits the song, it just fits the show as a whole. So I really liked it. And also the little reveal that Captain America is not a virgin and that he lost his virginity to a girl, which is probably Star-Lord's mom, in 1943 on the USO tour. That's kind of clever. The end credits scene to this episode was pretty cool. But they didn't exactly establish that of who the girl was, but we obviously know because like I don't even think it doesn't seem likely that Peggy Carter and Steve Rogers got something during that time. But he met a girl during the USO tour, so it's got to be Star-Lord's mom or his grandma or whoever that was. But overall, that's pretty much the good on this episode. Now let's move on to the bad. So when it comes to the bad on this episode, I have to say the specific story of this, I just don't understand what they're trying to do. What exactly they're trying to establish Jennifer Walters as. Like, what is her arc in this show? Like, how, like the way they're writing her is just kind of weird, because it's like Hulk is talking about they're gonna have to start avoiding stressful situations. You can't go back to your regular life. Like, it was cool, but it's like, what exactly are they trying to set her up to be? Like, it's kind of weird in what they're trying to set up, because it's like, with certain origin stories for characters, they set up the character arcs very clear, and that's what makes the stories interesting, and that, like, you have so much more to being a Hulk, like, but she's learning it so fast. It's like, what exactly are they trying to do here? And then also, it's like, I try to think a lot as to how this show can continue, of how the Wrecking Crew and all these different characters can play into the story, and like maybe the next couple of episodes will be like She-Hulk actually be like, you know, forming with relationships with her parents, but also being a superhero while lawyering, kind of like Daredevil does, where she actually goes and fights people and does lawyer stuff. So I think it would be a lot like that. But that's kind of my image of how I think it would be. But that's pretty much the bad on this episode. And so yeah, I like this episode. It was a fine introduction to the show, but not my favorite. So that's my thoughts on episode 1 of She-Hulk Attorney at Law. And that's my review. So before I give my final score, be sure to turn down below. What were your thoughts on She-Hulk Attorney at Law? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Right between? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below. With that said, let's get all my scores. Alright, so that's it for my scores. Before we end this video, we have to do a couple more stuff, and that's to talk about some theories I have for the next 8 episodes. So, pretty much what I just said in the bad, I think that this, once they now know that She-Hulk is, that Jennifer Walters is She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters is probably going to be part of this organization where she does lawyer stuff, but she does it through superheroing, and she stops bad guys, and then she becomes a superhero. And I think that's kind of a cool way to do it. That's really my theory as to how it could play out. I'm not exactly sure as to how all these other characters will play into it, like Daredevil and Wong, and maybe even Abomination and all those other characters that were in it. I'm interested to see how it is. They didn't really explore much with that Sakaar choreographed ship, but I'm hopefully hoping that Sakaar could be in this show, which is Hulk's son in the comics. If they don't, I'm fine with it. But yeah, and maybe this show could probably set up a Planet Hulk film where we actually get to see the events after Avengers: Age of Ultron lead into Planet Hulk, and then we see how Sakaar was before the Grand Master took over. So that's kind of how I want to do. So that's pretty much all my theories. Now let's talk about my thoughts on Phase 4 as of right now. Alright, so for me, my thoughts on Phase 4 as of right now, I wouldn't say that it's bad. It's my least favorite phase of Phase 4 of the MCU, but I can't say that it's terrible, because there's been at least a good project. The only project that I would say was a misfire for me was Eternals. Everything else was at least great, which are, of course, Spider-Man No Way Home, Hawkeye, WandaVision, I Am Groot, yes, I am including that. For the really good projects are like Falcon Winter Soldier, What If, for movies like Black Widow, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and then everything else was pretty much just very disappointing. I mean, it was good, but disappointing. That's really how I see Phase 4 as of right now. And I totally understand that they don't know where you're going with this, but now that we know for Phase 5 and Phase 6, we know exactly where the multiverse saga is going, and we also know what saga we're in. So I guess you could say I feel a little bit better, and I hope that this show actually does work, and I hope that Black Panther 2 works too. I hope that we get those little 2 specials. What is it? Werewolf by Night and the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I hope we get those by Halloween and Christmas time. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on Phase 4. Now let's talk about if I'm gonna watch the next 8 episodes. Alright, so now that we finally have seen the first episode of She-Hulk, am I going to watch this show? Am I going to watch the next 8 episodes? Yeah, of course I am. I'm an MCU fan. I love all things MCU, I love all things Marvel, so I'm going to watch this show. I'm excited to see where it's going to go. Hopefully it actually leads into an inspirational girls superhero story, because they kind of didn't really do the best with Black Widow and Captain Marvel. I guess you could say they did it a little bit good with Miss Marvel, but they haven't made a great She-Hulk, they haven't made a great female lead superhero in the MCU. So I hope that this show actually does that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for today for She-Hulk review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All my social media stuff is in the About section over there. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.